Hi guys, it's Amber. Welcome back to my channel. This is week 10. We only have 8 of these fertility episodes left. This is mind-boggling. Where has time gone? So if you're new here, hi, I'm Amber. I'm really glad you've come to join us. What I do every week, I sit here on a Saturday and I talk to you about all things fertility related, or as I like to say, all things vagina. There's not really anything in particular that I cover, I just kind of cover everything. But I just think we need to talk. So this week has been National Fertility Awareness Week. It has been absolutely manic. From my perspective anyway. I think this week has just been really full on. I think everything I have seen on Instagram, everything I've seen on Facebook, everything I've seen on Twitter has all been fertility related. It's been on the news, it's been on ITV, it has been everywhere, and I have honestly loved it. I feel a little bit overwhelmed with it all, if I'm honest, because I think fertility is, especially when you're in a situation like us, in that you're infertile or you're going through IVF, I think it's a touchy subject, and I think when everything is about it, everything is just full of emotion, and it is quite hard to then process all that and keep your head above water at the same time. So I think this week it has been really full on. We've had a blog post on the blog every day this week. Insta has just been going wild. I don't know what's happened, but my follower count just seemed to have been growing. And I seem a lot closer to that 3K mark, which, you know, isn't groundbreaking to a lot of people, but to me, little old me, it's a bit wild that I have that many people on Instagram. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, to me, this fertility week has been fantastic, because I think I have absolutely loved seeing so many people being so open about their fertility. And people that don't usually talk about it as well. And so that's what I've really liked. And I think there's been people that I speak to on Instagram who have been really nervous about putting themselves out there, and people that don't necessarily want to or haven't wanted to be really open about the situation on social media. They've not felt like it is everybody else's business. And they're right, it's not. It's completely up to you who you share with. But from nowhere, they have just gained these balls, if you like, and have just gone for it and just put themselves out there and have messaged me and said, look, I did it and I feel so much better for it. And you know, it isn't for everyone, but I've just loved seeing so many people talk about it, and the fact that it has had so much coverage, because it's not a minority issue, you know, and there's 1 in 8 of us that struggle with this. So to me, it's amazing that so many people are talking about it, and it's just made me so happy. And today I'm just, you know, it's now Friday, the weekend is here, I am knackered, and I just feel a bit and breathe. We've also got the Fertility Show this weekend in London. I don't know if any of you are going, but I am going to be showing my face there on Sunday. So yeah, Sunday I'm going. I am booked onto one of the seminars there. And I am really, really looking forward to going. I'm going to be taking my camera. Whether or not I'm going to do a full vlog about it, I don't yet know, but if I do, that will be next week's vlog. This week, again, I put a poll out and I let you all decide what I was going to talk about. And the thing that came back the most this week was keeping your marriage strong when you are trying to conceive. So I am going to talk to you about how my marriage has survived this 5-year battle. And just kind of give you my stance on it and a few of my little tips of things that work for us. You know, everybody's marriage is different, everyone's relationship is different, but these are things that I think work for us. One thing that does work for us is Marco not coming on the camera. He really doesn't like the camera, so please don't be getting your hopes up that he's going to be coming and joining me for any of these anytime soon, because he is not. So yeah, I'm not some kind of Dear Deirdre, I am not a relationship counsellor, I am not a relationship expert, I am nothing of the kind. However, we seem to have come out the other end of this a lot stronger, and like I say, it's what you wanted, so this is what you're getting. So go make yourself comfy. It is a Saturday, it's finally November, it's all snug, light all your bonfire candles, whatever, sit down, get yourself all comfy with a cup of tea, get your ice cream, get whatever, and let's sit and talk all things vagina. Ow. That's really hot. It's the thing with herbal tea, isn't it? Because it's just boiling hot water. Burn your hands off. Why am I going to drink it? Hi guys, welcome back. I hope you've gone and got yourself a nice cup of tea. I have once again got one of my pucker brews. Love pucker teas. If there's one thing that you will know about me if you follow me on Instagram, it's that I do love a pucker tea. Brew of choice is a Yorkshire tea, but while I'm trying to cut down on caffeine, these are doing the trick lovely. Okay, so welcome back. So like I say, this is week 10 and today we are talking about relationships when you were trying to conceive and how you keep them strong. Usually, I don't like to generalise, but usually when you start trying to conceive, you've been together quite a while. I think we had been together 2 years when we first started trying. And I think by that point you know each other quite well. You're not necessarily always married, we certainly weren't. But you make that decision to start trying and you think it's all going to be all hunky-dory and it's all, let's go make a baby and all the rest of it. And you just think it's going to be nice and easy, few quickies and you're knocked up. The reality is, chances are if you're sat here watching this video, that hasn't been the case for you either. Now, I'm going to start this by kind of just giving you a bit of a backstory, telling you just kind of how me and Marco met and our relationship as a whole. So, Marco and I started seeing each other in December 2012. So we will have been seeing each other 7 years in December. We started trying 2 years into our relationship. But like I say, I've said before, we weren't trying, we were just not trying. So yeah, things were quite full on that front really. I think I moved in after about 2 years of us being together and then it was pretty much after that we just started trying. And we had, I don't know, we've always had a really strong relationship. I think we complement each other in so many ways and I think he makes me think twice about a lot of things and he just makes me happy. I feel a bit like a little girl, just sat here kind of saying, oh, he makes me feel this and he makes me feel that. But he really does. I think we are really good together on that front and I think he makes me laugh every day. Like that's why I fell in love with him, because he makes me laugh like nobody else. Like there is nothing better than somebody who makes you belly laugh on a regular basis, and I do. Like you can guarantee at least once a day I am belly laughing with that man. And I don't know, things just got kind of really intense with us really quickly and here we are 7 years later. So yeah, I don't know, we just click. He's my best friend, I'm his, and I couldn't ask for a better relationship. Like we are just so happy. And I think we always have been. I can't think of a time when we really weren't happy. I think it has always been I knew really quickly that he was who I wanted to marry and that was going to be it and that was my life sorted. And don't get me wrong, we've hit a few bumps in the road, but we've never been unhappy and I don't know, I'm so glad that it's him that I'm with when I found all this out, because he is just incredible. Like we are polar opposites in so many ways, but we are so similar in others. So we have a similar sense of humour, things like that, but he's really patient, I'm not, for example. So he kind of forces me to be patient and he's really calm and collected and quite laid back, whereas I'm very hot-headed and I'm quite a stress head. So I think there's certain things, and he does make me think about the way I am and he makes me think about the way I react to things, and I think he's calmed me down an awful lot. But generally our relationship is really good, and I think, you know, sometimes I have to pinch myself and remind myself just how lucky I am to have this. Like, I was the first of my friends to get married. I was the first of them to start trying. That sometimes I do feel like I'm quite ahead of myself. But we're just so in sync with a lot of things. So I'll stop gushing about my husband now. We got married in April 2018. And obviously it wasn't long after that our real problems started, and I was diagnosed as infertile and his morphology results came back. So we really were thrown in the deep end. So although we'd been trying for 3.5 years at this point, we hadn't had the bulk of it. Like, the bulk of it was after we got married. So I'll talk to you now about how our relationship changed after I was diagnosed as infertile. So I was really angry. I was angry at the world. I wanted to take it out on someone, and the only person that I could take it out on was Marco. I look back at that period of my life and I hate it. Like, that is one period of my life that I'd rather forget. I don't want to forget it because I think I learnt so many lessons, but the 6 months after my diagnosis were the worst 6 months of my life. They were absolutely horrific. So it's things like, I can't even explain it, like verbally it's so hard, but I would fly off the handle at every little thing that he did. Like, the poor man couldn't breathe without me finding a problem with it. And I became this really quite aggressive, really hostile, really nasty person. You know, Marco wrote a blog post on the blog this week, and I will link the website below so you can read it. And I think he sums it up a lot better than I can because he was the one that was living with it. I was just really not very nice to be around, and it put a huge strain on our relationship. And, you know, you can throw words like that around, but in February this year, we genuinely were make or break, and we were so close to just throwing in the towel. And I know that you'll be sat there going, we were only married for not even a year. That's true, but we had been together, you know, 6 years before that. So we had 6 years of relationship there that was just going down the drain. And I found it really hard because I found it really hard to talk about how I felt. I found it really hard to sit there and admit that I was depressed, and I didn't want to go to the doctors. I didn't want to do anything like that. And in the end, he did make me because it was really bad. But I just didn't want to talk. And the only time I would talk was if we'd had a blazing row, and I mean blazing, to the point where I had thrown a kitchen chair across the room and broke our kitchen cupboard. I was so angry, like I don't recognise who I was. But the only time I would talk to him is when we'd had a blazing row, and it ended with me in absolute floods of tears and it all coming out. So it was kind of after that point, I think we'd gone out for a lunch and we'd sat there and realised that we couldn't do this anymore. We'd gone out for lunch and we'd gone to this place so that we could sit. Neither of us could shout, couldn't raise our voices, anything like that. And we sat there and both just cried. And we knew that that was the make or break for us. And we knew that if we wanted this marriage to work, things had to change from there on in. Now, kind of 6 months down the line from that, 7 months down the line from that, I feel like we are so much stronger than we have ever been. Like, he knows when I'm having a bad day, and I can tell him when I'm having a bad day. I will just wake up, and if I have had a dream that we've had a child and it's really upset me, I won't wake up and not say anything about it and just be aggy all day. I will wake up and I will go downstairs and I will say, I had a dream, and that'll be the first thing that I say. It kind of just sets him up for knowing how I feel for the day. And it is hard talking about your feelings, but, you know, I see this meme that goes around on Facebook that says, before you marry someone, put them in a room with slow internet and then you will get to know the real person. Whereas I really think a situation like this, you get to know someone in a totally different way. Like somebody you have been in a relationship with for years and years and years. As soon as infertility is thrown into the mix, everything changes. For me, like I say, we have come out of this stronger than ever, and we are just solid now. Like there's no cracks, and there's no room for any kind of manoeuvre. Like we are a unit rather than two people that are together. We are one. And I know that he has completely got my back through all of this, and vice versa. And I think we are just a support for each other, which is what you need to be. So these are my tips of kind of how to keep marriage strong, and things that I think really help when you're going through this and when you are trying to conceive and it's not working. Things that help keep your relationship above the water before you start sinking and before your legs start going like this and it's just stress mania. So hopefully I'm going to give dear Deirdre a run for her money here, but we'll see. Okay, so my first point would be communicate. Now I know that that's really obvious and that is something that is kind of self-explanatory, but I don't think people do it enough. I think it is... Oh, sorry. Don't know what happened there. I think it is so easy to just kind of scathe over everything and put it in a little box, wrap it up, put it away, not talk about it. But you have to. I think even before you're at the point of any diagnosis and it's starting to get a bit difficult, as soon as you start stressing about that, you need to be talking about that, because they might be feeling it too but not want to say anything, and I think it just relieves the stress. And it is difficult if you're in a relationship where one of you is a talker and one of you isn't. Like with us, I think I like to talk about everything, in case you hadn't guessed, whereas Marco is a bit more reserved than me, and he doesn't always... I wouldn't say he doesn't talk about his feelings, because he does, but I don't think he gets as upset about things as I do. And so talking about things sometimes is hard, but you kind of need to compromise on that. So it needs to be a case of, if you are the one that talks all the time and needs to talk about things, then maybe you should compromise and say, okay, I'll talk about it less if you talk about it that bit more. And you kind of have to meet in the middle. I think with communication, it's all about balance. But if you don't talk about things, all you're doing is building these things up and nobody really knows where to turn. So you have to communicate. Don't even just communicate to each other, like, you know, talk to your girlfriends. And I think sometimes there are things that you are thinking or things that you are feeling that you don't necessarily want to say to your other half, because you don't want to worry them or you don't want to upset them. There's so many different reasons why you wouldn't want to say something to your other half. So talk to other people, find support in somebody else, and it doesn't have to be your best friend, it doesn't have to be your mum. You know, not everybody does understand when they come to it, and like you know, I've said before, sorry, I've got really itchy back, this jumper's really itchy. Like I've said to you before, you know, not everybody knows what to say, and people aren't always the best at supporting people through this. But that's why I want to do this hashtag that I was talking about the other video. So the hashtag of all things vagina, because you can then click on that, have a look at all different people who are in this situation or who watch these videos or whatever, but they're going through a similar situation, and there's that community, and you can talk to them. Because I don't always think talking to your partner all the time is the best thing. I get an awful lot of comfort out of people I don't know, and I get an awful lot of comfort from Instagram, from my friends, from my family, things that I can say to them that I wouldn't necessarily always say to Marco. You have to treat it like anything else in the world. You know, you don't need to say everything to your partner, but the big things you should discuss, and this is something that you should be discussing, really. One thing I always remember is that when I found out that I was infertile, one of my biggest worries was that Marco was going to leave me for somebody who could have children. Now that's not a worry I have at all, because we spoke about that, and we didn't just speak about it once. It was a worry I had, and it took a long while for that worry to go. And I would say it a lot. And we sat and we spoke about it, and everything was put on the table. And it wasn't until then that Marco had kind of said to me, look, I don't care if it's just me and you for the rest of our lives. If this isn't meant to happen, then it's not meant to happen, but you are what is important to me. And until he'd kind of said that and we'd had that conversation, I was so worried that I wasn't going to be good enough for him anymore and that I was letting him down and he was going to go off. So I do think communication is absolutely key, because you need to be on the same page with this, and you need to make sure that you're both heading in the right direction with it, and that you both understand how each other feels. And if you don't do that, you can't support each other, and then straight away you're a bit doomed, really. Another thing I would say is that you need to kind of accept that this experience is going to be different for both of you, and the emotion that is felt is going to be different. So if only one of you has actual fertility problems and is actually diagnosed with anything, it's going to be a lot harder for that person than it is the other in some ways. And you're never going to fully understand how the other one feels. Like Marco will say to me all the time, because it is me that categorically can't have children, he does always say to me, I do not understand how you feel. I empathise, but I can't feel it because I don't feel the same, because it's not me. So he doesn't feel that same sense of loss and grief and self-loathing that I have felt. Whereas he still feels the same worry and the same uncertainty and things like that. And you have to accept that the other one's experience isn't going to be completely identical to your own. That's never going to happen. You are different people, and you have to be different. You know, if you were exactly the same, you wouldn't be together, because it'd be like dating yourself. But you have to kind of make allowances for that. Otherwise you are kind of, your experiences are different. You're both going through the same thing but differently, and you need to remember that. I think, you know, at the end of the day, it's not him that's going to be carrying the child. It's not him when it comes to the IVF, if that's the route that you're going down. It's not him that's got to do all the medication, that's got to have the collection, the transfer. Your experiences are different, and you need to allow for that to be able to support each other. Another thing I would say is that you need to make time for each other that doesn't revolve around trying to conceive. So when you first start trying to conceive, sex is really fun, and you're there going, oh, let's go make a baby. And it's almost a bit of a turn on. That sounds weird, but it is. And that's what you're going to do. And everything's really fun and really exciting. And then when it's not happening, sex turns into a chore. And it is so, right, I'm ovulating, we have to have sex today. And that's it. Boom, done. Okay, am I pregnant? That's kind of just how it is. And it stops being as enjoyable. So you have kind of got to make time for each other, I think anyway, where you go out for dinner or you do something. You don't even have to leave the house, you know, you do things at home, but you have set times where you are just not going to talk about it. You're not going to talk about anything to do with it. You're just going to concentrate on you two, find something that you both enjoy together, that you do, and you just act together like you did beforehand. And at first it's really hard, but I think eventually you get used to it, and you just think, right, this is our time, everything else away. You know, it's like families, sometimes they do things like where they don't have any phones at the dinner table, or they have a certain amount of hours on a Sunday where they actually spend time together. They don't have any phones, anything like that, and you switch off. And it is a lot easier said than done, but like I say, once you start doing it, you start getting somewhere with it. And I think it's really important to start and almost try and build your relationship again. Go back to when you were dating, go back to when you first started seeing each other, and just try and find the fun, because it's a really stressful time. When you're trying to conceive and it's not working, it is one of the most stressful things that you will ever have to deal with. So trying to find something where you just feel a bit and breathe, you're only gonna benefit from that, and you're just going back to, you know, you're finding the reasons that you fell in love with each other, and you're getting to know each other again away from that. It changes you as a person. Trying to conceive and all the hardships that come with it, it does. It changes you as a person, and you almost have to grow together, and you have to do these things, because otherwise you go insane and your life revolves around trying to conceive. And like I say, it's so much easier said than done, but just try it. Another thing I would advise is taking a break. I was never very good at this, but I do think it's important that you take a break away from trying to conceive and you just start trying to find yourself again. I think there are so many things that you can do as a couple. You know, it's things like making sure that you make time for each other and you go out. It's little things like mine and Marco's thing now quite often is, right, we're going to make time, we're going to go take the dogs for a long walk together. It's not going to be, oh, it's your turn to do it today, it's my turn to do it today. We do it together. And you get fresh air, you clear your mind, and in that moment you do kind of talk about everything. And everything kind of comes out, you talk about your feelings. And so you've made time for each other on that sense. But taking a break from it all, I mean, if you've been trying to conceive for a year and nothing is happening, there is no harm with having a month or two off. You can just chill about it a bit, you know, look after yourself. Self-care is so important, and if you're not doing that, you're just making it harder for yourself. And so I personally think sitting down, talking to each other, having a break, going on a spa day, you just have that time to recuperate and sit there and bring your mind back to focus, bring your body back to focus, and just feel more relaxed. If you every month are doing this and every month it is just failing, your stress levels are going through the roof, and stress is so bad for your fertility, that in my personal opinion, you need to take a break, take a step back and just breathe. My final thing, I think, is something that you should do anyway, but we kind of have a bit of a pact where we agree we don't go to bed angry, and then we always say I love you, whether it's at the end of a phone call, whether it's when you go to bed, whether it's when you leave the house. Always say I love you. Always, 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 always. I don't like going to bed angry. I have this weird thing in my head where I just don't like it, because I just think that one day we're going to go to bed and one of us isn't going to wake up. Whether that's tomorrow, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, I don't know, but one day it will happen. So for me, that's just kind of something that I have embedded in my head, but I don't think going to bed angry is healthy. I think when you are trying to conceive, a lot of the time there's a lot of cross words, there's a lot of things that come out that people don't always mean, but you are angry, you are stressed, you are upset, and everything comes out. And by going to bed early, I think you wake up and you just automatically feel that bit lower. And I think get everything out, but then sort it before you go to bed. Never ever go to bed angry. I don't like it at all. And I do think that that is one kind of saving grace, that things happen, we talk about it, but then the next day we move on, we just get on with it. We wake up the next day, it's a fresh day, it's over and done with. There's no, I think you were really out of order last night. It's all been sorted. There's no need to bring it all back up again. And I just think by telling each other you love each other, there is no better feeling than somebody telling you that they love you. And I think when you're going through such a hard time, no matter what's going on, just knowing that and hearing that just makes everything that bit better. So yeah, I say it all the time, all the time. He's just the best. It is a really, really, really stressful time. Do not be hard on yourself. But just be together. At the end of the day, you're both on this journey together, and you're both going through it. You both want the same end goal, and you're doing it together. Teamwork makes the dream work, so that they say. Bleh. Teamwork makes the dream work, so they say. So you have to talk, you have to communicate, you have to keep the sex fun, you have to keep all the romance in your relationship. Otherwise, it all just goes out the window. And it's stressful as it is, that you need to try and be each other's saviour. You need to support each other, and if you're not going to support each other, you're not going to get anywhere. So that is my advice to you. Like I say, if you are kind of looking to reach out, you do want to speak to other people who don't necessarily know you, don't necessarily want any judgment, but are going through the same thing, make sure that you are using the hashtag allthingsvagina on everything Instagram. Make sure that you are following me on Instagram, and please, please, please subscribe to the channel, give me a like, give me a comment, share. Let me know in the comments, what do you do that keeps your relationship sane when you are trying to conceive? Or just in general, really, because let's be honest, relationships are annoying sometimes. Teddy bears are much easier to maintain. So yeah, just let me know, drop me a comment. But yeah, thank you so, so much. We will see you next week. And like I say, I'm going to the Fertility Show this weekend, so make sure that you are following me on Instagram. You can watch my stories and you can see everything that's going on there. But yeah, thank you so, so much, and I will see you again next week. Bye.